Hello, I'm Lars Hallett, and I'm the webinar coordinator for Veritas and former chair of World Labyrinth Day. I'd like to share some images from past celebrations around the world for ideas and inspiration in creating your own events, and talk to you a little bit about some of the different possibilities. World Labyrinth Day is an annual event that happens on the first Saturday of May every year, and you can participate individually or as a group. Now, there are different opportunities when you create an event if you want to share the experience with other people. You could have an open walk, a group walk, you could create a ceremony or ritual, you could invite others to participate in a creative expression or building a labyrinth, you could offer a program, a presentation, or workshop, you could lead a virtual finger walk online, you could share your experience live or after the fact on social media, or you could combine these different ideas into a multifaceted program. An open walk is an event that happens over the course of a specific period of time, or perhaps even the whole day. But people are invited to come and go as they please, and as a labyrinth facilitator or host, you might stand at the entrance and give people a short introduction as to what a labyrinth is and invite them to go on the journey. Here you can see some images of what an open walk might look like, although you do see groups gathered together for a photo. And since I wasn't at these events, I'm not quite sure as to how they were organized, but you can see in 2017 in Italy, despite the rain, in Lima, Peru in 2018, in 2014 in North Carolina, the United States, and in 2017 in South Africa. Now, a facilitated group walk is a little different. Generally, this is an event that happens at a specific time, so people are invited to gather at perhaps 1 p.m., and there is generally a group introduction, and this allows for kind of a longer introduction as to what labyrinths are, maybe sharing an intention, talking about the Big Connection research project, and then the facilitator will invite people in the labyrinth one at a time, and generally they will walk at their own pace, and then when they return out of the labyrinth, they will remain for a group closing ritual or gathering at the end. Here are some images of other group walks from past World Labyrinth Day. You can see an indoor walk on a canvas labyrinth in 2018 in Uruguay. Also, a labyrinth on a canvas outside in Warsaw, Poland in 2018. And in 2017 in New Jersey, you can see the facilitator is standing there in the center, speaking to the group. Generally, when you have a group walk, it's nice to invite people to stand in a circle around the labyrinth before and after the event. And if you have a loud voice, you can stand in the center and kind of circle around and project to everyone. But if you have a smaller group, then you can also gather people perhaps in a circle at the entrance to the labyrinth or in a shady spot nearby. If it's going to be a long talk, then you would preferably offer seating for people so they don't have to stand for an extended period of time before doing the walk. The next thing you might offer is some ceremony or ritual. And this is inviting people to actually engage in some sort of practice. It could be shared or it could be individual related to the labyrinth. So in 2018 in Devon, England, you can see people carrying prayer flags together on a long string through the labyrinth. Also in 2018 in Palm Springs, California, you can see a group gathered for a groundbreaking ceremony to raise awareness and funds for their labyrinth at their church. Also in 2018, you can see in Queensland, Australia, a woman participating in a solo ritual. And it's often good to have rituals be optional. You don't want to force people to engage in a ritual that they might not feel comfortable with. Here are examples of other rituals. Emily Simpson from Australia in LG Park had an opening ceremony. So World Labyrinth Day is a great time to dedicate and bless them. You can see she invited the Victoria State Governor. And Toby Evans in Sibley, Missouri, she annually burns her labyrinth to keep the brush levels down. So she invites people to walk the labyrinth, and then they ritually burn the prairie, and then they are able to walk the labyrinth again after the grounds are burned. You could also invite people to create a labyrinth on World Labyrinth Day. It could be a small handheld labyrinth or a full-size walkable design, or you could invite people to restore or renew an old labyrinth. So here in the images you see in 2014, Dorrit Brower, she created a small labyrinth with sticks on the side of a river. They don't have to be necessarily walkable, they could just be symbolic. You can see a temporary labyrinth created in South Africa with chalk in 2017. And you can see John Ritter weeding a labyrinth. So, if you go on the Labyrinth Locator, which is a website where you can search for local labyrinths in your area, if you find that your local labyrinth is in need of renewing or restoring, you may dedicate that day on World Labyrinth Day to clean up an existing labyrinth. You could also create a new permanent labyrinth. As you can see here in Houston, Texas, a new labyrinth being built on World Labyrinth Day. In 2014 in Tasmania, you can see a temporary labyrinth created on the beach. And the beach is a great place to create temporary labyrinths to introduce new people to the labyrinth that have never experienced it before. 2017, you can also see these toes painted with labyrinths. So you could, even create a small enough labyrinth to go on your toenail. Here are some other temporary labyrinths. You can see one made with pine cones and ribbon by Tom Vetter in Minnesota in 2017, and one made in Victoria, Australia in 2017 with tape and LED candles at night. You can also see in New Jersey, they created their own World Labyrinth Day t-shirts. So you might want to create your own World Labyrinth Day clothes, or you can also purchase some on the World Labyrinth Day website. Here is a finger labyrinth created in Malta with stones or shells glued to a piece of wood. In French Polynesia, you can see they've used play materials, balls, to create a spiral labyrinth. And also here in Hungary in 2018, you can see they've used firewood to create a temporary labyrinth. So you could use renewable or recycled materials as well. You might want to offer a workshop or program, and this could include a variety of different ways to engage the labyrinth. You could show a slideshow or a presentation about the history of labyrinths. You could invite people to color or write words into a labyrinth that's printed out on paper. You could teach people how to draw the classical seed pattern, which is the simple way of drawing the 7-circuit labyrinth by connecting the dots. You can also invite people to make their own handheld labyrinth, perhaps with clay or stitching, or they could collage, mosaic, or create rubbings of handheld labyrinths that have grooves in them. You could host a labyrinth movie night showing videos of related to labyrinths on YouTube, Vimeo, or DVDs that you have. And you could also read a labyrinth-related book. There are many possibilities, and we can look at a few examples. Here in Italy, you can see a slideshow with people gathered learning about labyrinths. In Montreal, Canada in 2017, you can see people coloring labyrinths. And here in 2014, you can see a full-day workshop from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. that is included in American Sign Language. And you can learn about the history and culture of labyrinths, walk the labyrinth, and a facilitated walk, and then make a colorful finger labyrinth to take home. Here you can see in Brazil, people finger tracing a printout. Also in Kent, UK, you can see people gathered in a home to talk about the labyrinth and work with intentions. And in 2017 in Oklahoma, you can see people drawing the seed pattern and creating their own finger labyrinths. Now, in the time of COVID, we've really expanded the use of handheld labyrinths to create and host finger walks on the internet. So you could join this year at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in 2022. We will be having a online handheld walk with Lauren Artress. And you can see an image screenshot from World Labyrinth Day 2020 when we had over 200 people walk their handheld labyrinths online. Or you could host your own finger walk, either online or in person if you don't have a full-size walkable labyrinth accessible where you are. Or you could just trace a handheld labyrinth yourself, as you can see in Croatia in 2018. Another way to share your experience on World Labyrinth Day is to create a live video on social media. You can do that on Instagram Live or Facebook Live or YouTube Live. And it's an incredible way to go on a journey through a labyrinth and connect with other people in real time. Last year, I walked the labyrinth at Grace Cathedral, and I shared the names and intentions of people that were joining in live from around the world. If you're unable to share your experience live on social media, you can also share your photos or stories or recorded videos after the event. There is the TLS Global Group on Facebook, which is probably the place where the most people share their experiences and images, is on the Global Group on Facebook. If you search Labyrinth Society Global Group. You can also tag the Labyrinth Society, Veritas, the Legacy Labyrinth Project, and the Australian Labyrinth Network in your post, and use the hashtag World Labyrinth Day so that other people can see it. This images on the right are tagged World Labyrinth Day on Twitter. And it's a good idea to hashtag or write your experience or information in different languages. So if you speak more than one language, then share your World Labyrinth Day experience in multiple languages, or at least use the different hashtags of Labyrinth in other languages. And here you can see on Instagram all the posts, 871 posts tagged with World Labyrinth Day from past events. So it's a great way for other people to see what you have done, and if you are interested in seeing more images from people around the world of World Labyrinth Day, then go onto social media and search for this hashtag. Well, thank you very much for being with me on this tour of the World Labyrinth Days of past, and I invite you to walk as one for peace in the future World Labyrinth Days on the first Saturday in May. If you'd like more information or resources, you can go to worldlabyrinthday.org, where you can also register your event and search for other events in your area. And World Labyrinth Day is sponsored by the Labyrinth Society, Veritas, the Australian Labyrinth Network, and the Legacy Labyrinth Project, where you can also learn about the Big Connection Research Project if you go to Legacy Labyrinth Project's website. So, peace on your path, and happy World Labyrinth Day.